Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Weird World Podcast.
Hi,
Hi, my name's Carrie.
I'm Jack.
I'm Dean.
What's Dean got for us today?
I got a mystery. Well, actually, it's a murder case, but it's not a
What?
mystery insofar as we're going to have a solution before the day is done here.
Well, okay.
But it is a pretty amazing case. I don't think I'm going to oversell this. This has some twists, some turns, and a real amazing solution, and a great journey getting there.
Huh. Do you think I've ever heard of it before?
I think you have. It is the killing of Greg Fleniken.
Okay.
You'll probably recognize
Sounds
this eventually.
Interesting. Good old Greg. May
I
he
won't-
rest in pieces.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Damn.
That's terrible, Karen. Not a good way to start. He was a nice guy. We're going to acknowledge, by the way, we always have lots of sources here on Weird World, the podcast. In this, and I do have multiple sources for this, but in this case, I want to acknowledge by far the primary source and the best source is an article by Mark Bowden in Vanity Fair from something like 2012 or 2013. It's also a chapter in his great book, The Case of the Vanishing Blonde, which I highly recommend you get. I have it. He's got a bunch of great cases. He's kind of a crime writer. He wrote Black Hawk Down. He's a nonfiction writer, more than just crime, I should say. He wrote Black Hawk Down. He has, oh crap, there's another one. He wrote a book about 9/11. He's a really, really good nonfiction writer.
What's his name again?
Mark Bowden, Bowden.
Okay.
So let's start with who was Greg Fleniken. Susie Fleniken
That's a different person.
had spoken to her husband Greg the night of September 15th, 2010, because she always did when he was away from home. Home for him was in Lafayette, Louisiana, but Greg's temporary home on this night was in room 348 of the MC Elegante Hotel in Beaumont, Texas.
Ooh.
Why that reaction?
Where's Beaumont, Texas?
I'll tell Beaumont, Texas. I'm sorry. Greg was in Beaumont, which is a city of about 120,000, 85 miles,
Oh.
137 kilometers east of Houston.
So it's a fair-sized city.
It is a good-sized city. He was in Beaumont because that was where he and his brother had an oil and natural gas lend-lease business. I
Of
think,
course
I was going
they
to say
did.
oil
Well, of course.
business shit, just because Texas.
especially in that part. This is Southeast Texas, so
That's
it's
true.
oil country for sure. I think they more or less brokered mineral rights for landowners in Texas was kind of their job. They were kind
Okay.
of middlemen, but they had a very successful business together.
Hopefully they were fair.
Girl.
They didn't try to cheat people.
Well, like the Clampetts. Are you worried about the Clampetts? They moved to Beverly Hills, if you recall, so they did just fine.
What about the land?
That was your concern. So wait, you've never heard of Beaumont?
You know, it sounds familiar, but
Yeah.
I could never have been able to tell you where it was or what kind of size city it was.
That's the thing about the United States is that we have forgettable cities of over cities no one's ever heard of, over 100,000 people. There are
Yeah.
countries with capital cities that are
Yeah.
a fraction of that. It's just odd.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Damn.
I find it odd.
The same could be said for China and India.
I know.
Except for a
Yeah,
lot
true.
more people than our
That's very true.
little rum tum. What? That's not a word. Anyway.
rum tum tugger of a town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comes
I'm getting
from-
scared for both of you. Lafayette, Louisiana, where he lived, was about 175 miles, 281 kilometers
That's weird.
east of Beaumont, or about 3 hours by car. But Greg made that drive every week through the oil lands of southern Louisiana and into southeast Texas, because that's where, again, he and his brother's business was located. I don't know why, but he lived in Lafayette. So he basically, every Monday morning, he would drive out to Beaumont, work for the week, stay in a hotel, and come back for the weekend to spend with his wife.
Oh.
Most times, most weeks.
I would have thought he was traveling around all over the place, but
I'm sure he was too.
Like,
But
they
his
had an
base-
office in Beaumont.
Yes, the
Oh.
office, the corporate headquarters was in Beaumont.
That's
Yikes.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's his choice to live in Lafayette. It's not. I mean, yeah, it's pretty
No,
far, but
it's
I wouldn't do that,
terrible.
but
How old was Greg?
55.
Okay.
He always stayed at the mostly 9-story MC Elegante, which is conveniently located at the junction of Interstate 10 and Highway 96. They have good rates. Check them out. Sorry. His room on September 15th was in the 3-story wing that overlooked the pool. So it's not 9-star hotel, but they kind of built on some add-on, a couple of around the pool, and that's where his room was on the 3rd story of that wing. Greg spoke to his wife every day, multiple times a day when he was gone. So When Susie could not reach him the morning of September 16th, she got worried. Later that morning, when she called Greg's work and found that he had not arrived, her worry began to be borderline frantic.
Yup.
So
Police, hello.
Yeah. She asked Greg's coworkers to check on him. Go to the hotel, check and make sure he's okay. They did, and then none of them wanted to call Susie back and tell her what they had found.
Oh, no.
Wow.
So let's back up a little bit.
Oh.
Back to the night of September 15th, 2010. It was much like every night for Greg Fleniken, as I mentioned, when he spent time away from home. Greg was 55 years old and had long been a slave to routine. He liked things really nice and tidy, everything in its place. He would get into the hotel room and immediately hang up his clothes and put everything away.
Wow.
Boring.
Never met a person like that before.
Don't be a monster. Don't be a hater.
This is exactly you.
So,
I'm being a
Knucklehead.
hater. Because that's fucking
how
weird.
else are
What's
you going to
the
know where
point?
stuff is, man?
What do you mean? You
Really?
know
If
where
you're
it
in
is.
a
It's
hotel
in
room.
your suitcase where you didn't remove it from. Ugh.
Actually, you're thinking more when I get home. When I get home, I put everything away immediately. But in the hotel, I
fine.
usually actually just leave it in the bag if we're not staying there a very long time. You'll see. I'll
He
show
has
you.
to defend himself.
I do. I do. I feel like I should.
Greg weird though.
I'm defending all tidy people.
I've been in hotel rooms with you before.
I don't remember this.
Anyway.
So then he would put on his pajamas and get into the hotel bed for a night of TV and snacks. That was his routine. Greg did it pretty much every night he was gone.
I
How do-
like his routine.
Did he tell people this?
Well, yeah, he
Probably
took his wife every
yeah.
night.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
His wife knew, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, she knew exactly what he did.
He got secrets.
We'll see. We'll see. Ensconced in his third floor room, Greg always set the AC, the air conditioning, to freezing.
Oh God.
He liked to snuggle up in bed under those really overstuffed hotel comforters and watch movies. So the room had to be almost like walk-in freezer cold, which I can sympathize with because you know those they have these grossly too warm comforters at most hotels, and then a sheet, so you have nothing in between. Super annoying hotels. Knock it off. That's why people turn the AC up so high.
Sure.
It's either they have a sheet and they're freezing cold, or they have this giant comforter and they're boiling hot when they wake up in the middle of the night. I'll get off my soapbox.
First world problems.
It is. Greg would lie in bed smoking. On this night, they know he lay in bed smoking because he had an ashtray on a hand towel on the comforter, so he didn't spill any ashes on the comforter. Though undoubtedly that comforter had seen much, much, much worse than
Yeah.
just ashes.
You're allowed to smoke in hotel rooms?
In 2010, you were in Texas.
Yeah, this is Texas.
Really?
Texas, a little behind California for those kinds of things.
Do hotels still have like smoking floors or smoking?
God, you know, I haven't traveled as much in these last
Yeah.
few years, so I
haven't noticed it.
haven't
but
noticed either. Except for Vegas. I know Vegas still allows some smoking in hotels.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Nevada, I think.
Yeah.
Greg had all of his objects around him. So he had his cigarettes and lighter. Then he had his BlackBerry because it's 2010. And although that's a little late for a BlackBerry, isn't
Yeah.
it? That's getting there. He had the TV remote and he had his snack. On this night, it was a Reese's Crispy Crunchy candy bar that he washed down with a bottle of root beer, both of which I'm sure he bought at the vending.
Greg
thing
is
there.
so wholesome.
He is. Although he was watching Iron Man 2, the worst Iron Man,
Still
on the
quite
hotel
wholesome.
TV. Yeah, he was. He was. Greg emailed Susie that night back in Lafayette. She was working on their taxes, and she was struggling with them. So he signed off, "You're doing good, babe." Then, as the fake violence of Iron Man 2 blared on the TV screen, something did real violence to Greg Fleniken. Someone did tremendous damage to Greg that forced him out of his bed to stagger toward the hotel door. But Greg never made it out of his room. He fell face first onto the thin carpet in room 348. Smack. The next morning, that's when Susie got worried. Greg didn't call. And when she did call, remember, he didn't answer his cell phone. So she called the office. Greg's coworkers went down, and they knocked on room 348. No answer. They went and got the hotel manager to open the door for them, who did obligingly. And within minutes, an ambulance went careening toward the hotel because they went in there and they saw what they saw, and they immediately called an ambulance. When the EMTs got there was nothing they can do. Greg was dead. In fact, he had been dead. His body was cold.
Damn.
Greg, in fact, had likely been dead by the time his face hit the floor. The body was doubled over as if it was in great pain. It's almost like quasi-fetal position. His
Yeah.
left hand still clutched a cigarette, a burnt-out cigarette that he had not finished smoking. Greg's skin had shaded into kind of a strange gray-blue color in this unusually warm room. Within an hour, Beaumont detective Scott Apple was on the scene. So the police got there, EMTs got there, couldn't do anything for him. They called the police. But nothing looked wrong. It's just there's a dead body. We need to call the police. What's wrong?
What do you mean nothing looked wrong?
I mean, nothing looked. There was no
Like,
there
it
was no
didn't look like
signs of
someone
any violence.
broken.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
so he
no.
hadn't been beaten.
Nothing
Okay.
like that looked wrong with the body. There was no.
Was
the
there
room was
blood?
pristine. There was no blood.
Huh.
They just like
That's
this guy had a heart
weird.
attack
Heart
and
attack,
died.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they still had to call the police just to be safe, as they knew. So they did, and Detective Scott Apple from the Beaumont PD
Scott Apple.
got there. It's a
You
good
need to
name.
go work at Apple with that kind of last
Yeah.
name,
That's
Mr. Scott. Mr. Apple.
He's a detective, so probably. He assessed the room and he found little help there. There had been no fight. He saw that right away. No break-in. The room, like I said, was pretty much pristine except for that body lying on the floor. Money, in fact, was still in Greg's wallet. Several $100 bills, totaling about $1,000, was in the
Wow.
wallet still.
Why- what?
It's not a robbery.
Why does he have that much cash on
Walking
him?
around, money, baby.
Big spender.
Well, he's using Lafayette. He probably just make sure he had plenty of cash for the week in Texas
I
while he's away from
guess.
home.
You have access
Easier
to the
that way.
bank.
Yeah, you do.
have a
but
card. What?
My
You know,
choice
there's
would be
charges for
$100
out-of-area banks to
That part.
ATMs.
Yeah.
What?
Two
My choice
$100
wouldn't be
bills.
$100 bills.
Most places don't take $100 bills.
Texas, they do. Everything's bigger.
I don't.
As
What?
long as the $100 bills are smothered in gravy. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So Apple and some uniformed police went around and they quizzed everyone in the nearby rooms, but no one had heard anything odd or suspicious at all.
Huh.
So for Apple, it was time to guess. Okay, so what happened here? Maybe he OD'd on drugs, he thought early on. So
I
he
had
checked
that
through
thought.
you thought drugs? He checked through his
Potentially.
luggage and found no evidence whatsoever of any kind of drugs in his luggage or in his room. So he said, okay, well, Greg, though he was thin, he looked fit. He was also a chain smoker. He never exercised. So Apple felt early on that this was a natural causes thing.
Yeah.
It was
I don't know.
a heart attack, something like that.
He wasn't that old though.
Yeah, but
Even if you have a even if you have an unhealthy lifestyle, I would still be surprised if you
Yeah.
just drop dead of a heart attack.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happens
That's
all
sure.
the time.
But it's
At
and again, there's
55?
no sign of anything else.
Yeah.
So,
I guess. Wait
yeah.
for the coroner's report, Mr. Scott.
Sure,
You're not
sure.
a doctor.
One friend, though, when he first heard Greg had died, he thought maybe those damn cigarettes had finally caught up with him. So people
Maybe.
they
Yeah.
weren't surprised. In fact, Susie, when she was told the facts, the wife, she thought that Greg had been stricken by something and died the sudden death. He had often told her it was his preferred way to leave this world.
What the hell, Greg?
Well, that doesn't often happen.
No, it doesn't. But he said, here's what Greg said. He said, and Carrie sounds wistful that doesn't often happen, which is a little weird somehow.
Oh, I wish. Oh, to be Greg. That's mom.
To die suddenly. Greg had said, lucky bastard, when Susie told him about, a friend of theirs who had died suddenly. He said, that's how I want to go. So it appeared he had.
Greg, this is just strike two. You're a weirdo, Greg.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a weird thing to
I-
say.
would you
I
rather die in
understand
pain or
that.
something?
Yes, he doesn't want to suffer a
Like a
long, drawn out
lingering-
illness.
Yeah.
It can
I
be
mean-
sudden and painful.
True.
A heart attack is sudden
Yes.
and very painful.
He's probably, was dreading lung cancer or something
Probably
like that.
That's true.
Assuming
Right,
that's what he was going to die
I
of.
bet he was.
So,
Emphysema.
yeah. I prefer to just go to bed and not wake up
There you go.
Yeah, this is nice.
when I'm 99 and a half.
99 and a half with in a garage with a car on. Is that what you mean?
Okay, that got weird.
No.
So at this point, the case.
In bed next to my second husband.
Whoa, shit.
Ooh, after
Okay,
killing the
that's
first
fine.
one.
That's fine. All right. I'll be long dead by the time you're 99, so that's fine with me. Then the case butted head on against ego.
What?
That ego belonged to
Oh.
Dr. Tommy Brown. He, like Detective Apple, thought that this looked like some kind of a natural death, right? And he had been the coroner there for decades. He was a legend within the legal and law enforcement community there. So when it came to what had killed the dead, his word was gold.
Boo.
Brown also prided himself on speed. He thought that he could do a good, solid post-mortem in 45 minutes flat, no more.
What?
Hey, it's his thing, man. He was good.
No.
Yeah, he could cut you open, look at the inside, scan your outside, weigh your organs, all while keeping up his constant pattern to a tape recorder for the form that he would have to fill out afterwards. And boom, he didn't need more than 45 minutes to do it. He's good, man. He's good. We love Tommy Brown.
I don't. That sounds bad.
It's going to be. So Tommy Brown took a look at Greg Fleniken, splayed out on his stainless steel table, and he did his body scan. He didn't find any sign whatsoever, really, of any injury or external cause of death. There was, however, a little scrape on his cheek, but he figured, okay, that's where his face hit the floor when he collapsed. But he also found a little cut on his ball sack, also known as the scrotum. a little abrasion, and it was and the scrotum was a little swollen, and there's a little dribble of fluid, and then the whole groin area was also badly bruised.
I think I know where this might be going.
He's thinking, thought Brown. So Brown opened up Greg, right? And he says, inside he found a very different story. There was copious blood and really nasty internal damage. Some digested food from his stomach had been torn or ripped from his intestinal tract, and there were little cuts on the intestines. He also found lacerations on his stomach and his liver, 2 broken ribs, and a small hole or rupture in the right atrium of Greg's heart.
That's
good
not
Lord.
good. How does
No.
that happen with like nothing on the outside? What?
To Dr. Brown, the solution was simple. Someone had beat the shit out of Greg Fleniken.
Yeah, but the only bruising was in his groin area, right?
That's what you said.
Yeah,
You
he
said there were
thought-
no external.
Well, he
Sign.
thought someone had crushed something hard onto Fleniken's chest.
Ah,
and that
the
could
Giles Corey.
And also that same person, or maybe a co-attacker, maybe there's more than one person, had also like steel-toed kicked him right in the goods as hard as he
Yeah.
could. He thought those 2 things could have easily
God.
done the damage that he found inside Greg
Really?
Fleniken.
Like
Cock
all
and
the way
ball
up to your
torture.
heart?
Depressing.
The pressing, but he also a violent rupture
Yeah.
to the groin could cause tremendous internal damage as well.
Holy moly.
I don't like
Furby-
that one bit.
I don't either.
No male listening likes that at
No,
all. This is-
no
Yeah.
female.
no females like it.
They have
but
empathy.
They don't like it as much.
Yeah, because if we
They
got
don't not
kicked
like
there
it.
that hard, it
No,
It just
it's-
feels
tickle.
good.
You
Yeah.
just don't know our pain.
Sir, if you don't.
I mean, you talk about pregnancy, but trust me, this is much worse. Just kidding. So,
Well, yeah, that would be much worse than
Probably.
It was.
Pregnancy.
Yeah.
in
'Cause
fact,
it killed him.
Brown
Yeah.
thought he had actually seen this kind of internal damage in
Wow.
car wreck victims, car crash.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
How does that happen?
But Greg had been nowhere other than his hotel room.
and he
the
managed to
entire
keep
night.
a cigarette in his hand.
Yes, he did.
Was it a Murphy bed?
No.
That's always my fear.
I just saw something about that people
folded.
have died in Murphy beds.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
It's probably like
suffocated.
suffocation, though,
yeah,
right? Not
still, can you
being
imagine being
crushed.
trapped in a Murphy bed?
I don't want to.
No, I don't want to either. The attack had caused the internal destruction, which had led to internal bleeding, and that then caused Greg to bleed out in no more than 30
Yeah.
minutes, probably less.
Wow.
Holy shit.
So he'd been attacked. He struggled, tore the door, collapsed, and bled out on the floor.
But bled out internally, right?
Yeah.
Because there was
exactly.
no blood.
Completely
Okay.
internally. Yep.
That's the worst part. Just a
Wow.
bag full of blood just sloshing around.
Ugh.
Sorry, Greg.
But what this meant was that Greg Fleniken had been murdered.
Yeah.
So he knew how, Dr. Brown said. He said, it's up to you, Detective Apple, to figure out who. That's where the case was. So Beaumont, despite being in Texas, it's actually a pretty safe place. In 2010.
Whoa,
Just get
sorry,
that?
Texas.
All right. Well, no,
Guns.
I'm not at all.
They have a lot of guns.
Yeah, they do. In 2010, when Greg was killed, he was one of only 10 murders in the city, which is a fairly low death rate, murder
Wow.
rate. This,
Wait, for that year?
for that year, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a city of 120,000, so that's, I mean, it's
Well,
not.
I don't know. How many murders do you think we have a year in our city?
Probably more than
this
10.
city, I think we do have more than 10.
I
yeah.
don't think so.
Probably something like that.
I'm going to look it up, but
Okay,
I don't
you look it
think
up.
so.
All right.
I mean, I'm not looking it up right now.
No, you're not. But this murder was different. This was actually a real whodunit. So Detective Apple had something he could kind of sink his teeth into, because mostly it's just you question the usual suspects. So, somebody's having a fight with is internal. You figure it out pretty quickly.
Right.
Go ahead.
I
Jack
haven't
has
found it
numbers
yet.
for-
No, I'm just trying. I'm listening
Jack had
and
numbers
looking.
for us.
I am looking though.
Who came into Greg Fleniken's room as he spent another quiet night with snacks and movies, and then beat him so viciously it looked like something had ripped through his insides. That was Detective Apple's task here. So he worked the case, but he hit nothing but dead ends immediately. Greg did not seem to have any enemies in the world. He was very well liked. The wife is usually, of course, the first suspect, so he thought, okay, we know she was in Lafayette, but did she hire someone, maybe?
Yeah.
But he
Not
found
Susan.
it. Not Susie.
You don't think Susie?
No.
No. Detective Apple found out very quickly they got on very, very well.
Yeah.
He talked to her friends. There was nothing there at all. And to investigators, she seemed absolutely crushed by
Yeah.
Greg's death. Greg and Susie, by the way, actually had been married twice. Once when very young. She said, well, we're just kids. They got divorced pretty quickly. They'd separated.
Oh.
They'd been separated for, I think, like 15 years. And then they re-met and re-fell in love and got remarried. And that second marriage now had been 15 years on when he died.
Wow.
Work was also a dead end. Everyone there also seemed to like Greg. All his professional contacts liked him. The folks at the actual office liked him. His brother, who was his business partner, said he was well liked by everybody in the company, everybody professionally. And the police did look into the brother as well. Maybe there was some, because they were business partners, but they found absolutely nothing there as well. And his brother said, look, when in town for work, he really did. He went to the office, went back to the hotel, and that was it. He was not out carousing at the bar scene ever. But Apple checked this as well and found that no one could find no one at any of the bars where he had ever been seen. He was just not that kind of person.
I mean, are they able to check phone and internet records and see
I'm
if
sure.
he was
I imagine they
had
could,
a secret life?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm sure we would know then.
He could have just been more on the down low, but in terms of they could find no evidence whatsoever that he was out carousing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising, because that was honestly my first thought. He had some sort of secret life where he was into cock and ball torture.
What now?
The bruises on the crotch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
People like
I
that.
forgot about
S&M kind of stuff.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Or
Nothing's scary.
something, and it went wrong.
I like that Carrie's explaining that. Let me just, you know what, I'll tell you later. I'll just explain. In fact, I'll show you later.
Ew,
that
we
weird?
made it weird
Yeah.
as usual.
No one in any of the surrounding rooms at the hotel, all, as I mentioned, saw anything remotely suspicious. But he went back and he asked everybody a second time. And then there was that overarching kind of peculiarity of the pristine room. There was just no sign of a struggle,
Well,
let alone the kind of fight that would have resulted in the beating that Greg took. I mean, that's a violent death.
unless there wasn't a struggle because the person was let in voluntarily at first, maybe, and then somehow caught him off guard.
Yeah, but the fact that he still had a cigarette in his hand
That's
just
weird.
won't leave my
True.
mind.
Yeah, that's weird. That is strange. They also, so they checked hotel security, video footage. Greg didn't leave, and no one mysterious or suspicious was let into his room.
Yeah, but
I had
how-
like a,
like a key card?
A key card thingy, yeah.
And there's records for
Yes.
that.
Are
You
there
see
records of
single
every time he opens and closes his door?
I think so.
Because-
Every
I
time you
think
use
so.
the card, I believe there is like a little boop boop.
Yeah, because if
Yeah.
if someone knocked and he just opened it, there wouldn't be a record of it. I don't think.
Maybe, but
I don't know. Maybe not.
are
I
there
don't
not
think so.
security cameras in the hallways?
There now, well, yes. Well, at least there are security cameras on all the exits and entrance. So he didn't leave, and no one that looked suspicious came in. No thuggy-looking person that wasn't a guest or a friend of his came in that they could track.
Okay,
See,
but an unassuming person could
Yes,
have
that's true.
gone in and
Yes.
Yes.
there's no
yeah.
camera trained on his door where they would see.
No.
Okay.
No. But as far as they can tell,
Yeah.
from what evidence they did have, no one mysterious came in.
Yeah.
He didn't leave the room or come back with his key card.
What
So
happened,
that was
Greg?
weird. And again, and just the pristineness of the room really threw Detective Apple. He thought it was
Yeah.
odd given the cause of death.
It is
Yeah.
weird. It's violent.
And then there was kind of the wounds themselves. Though internally Greg was a mess, externally his torso didn't exhibit any kind of damage that could have caused that, given the force that would have had to have been involved to inflict those kind of wounds. I mean, cracked ribs, tears in the heart, liver, and stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to me that I don't see how even the hardest of kicks could go all the way up to
Not
the
a
heart.
kick. That's the pressing.
But-
Remember?
Yeah,
said
again, he
was
thought there was two
pressed.
things. Something heavy was pressed on him on his
Oh.
chest, and he was kicked
Yeah.
violently in the groin.
Like in the Crucible. Remember reading the
Yeah.
Crucible to Giles Corey? They
Yeah.
pressed him with a big piece of rock and like.
and that was
plank,
the only external damage was the bruising to the groin.
Yeah.
was it.
which is
Yeah.
weird, man.
Detective Apple, though, he doggedly pursued the case. He chased evidence wherever it could be found. And again, he found that Greg was not out doing things at night. He checked the hotel maintenance logs, though, and he found that there had been a little bit of a mishap in room 348 that night. Greg had blown a fuse. Truly,
Oh.
not figuratively. He was popping popcorn in that cheap hotel microwave, and it blew a fuse, and it cut power to his room, the room next door, room 349, and to the room directly below 348, so I guess 248. And
That's weird.
So after calling down to the lobby, Greg waited for the maintenance worker to come up and fix the circuit breaker. So the maintenance worker did come up, and he kind of sheepishly admitted to the maintenance worker, yeah, this is on me. I was popping popcorn. Sorry about that.
Well, if there's a microwave, you'd
No,
expect to be
but
able
he's
to
a nice
use
guy.
it.
He's a nice
okay.
guy. So he's just saying, this is my fault.
Yeah.
Still, Detective Apple goes, okay, so someone had been into Greg's room that night. It was a hotel worker,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
still a human being. Let's look into this guy. Who is this maintenance man? So Detective Apple did, and he found that the maintenance man had a record as a sex offender.
Uh-oh.
So he's just, his imagination goes wild. Had something happened there? Had something led to something
also-
really bad happening in room 348? They
Just-
got him beaten?
Just the kind of person you want having access to people's hotel rooms?
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously they're not doing extreme background checks.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Ew.
Apple, though, could not find anything definite. He would have a lingering suspicion of this guy for a while, though. He wouldn't let it go right away. He thought,
I mean, I
something,
get it, honestly. Logically, he's
Something
literally
weird.
the only person who's
Yeah.
been in the room.
some
Besides
Well-
kind of
Greg.
assault, and this guy had a record. He could be violent. He would continue to look into the maintenance man.
Well, so
And
he
with-
questioned him, and what did the maintenance man
Yeah.
say?
Maintenance man said nothing. I left at about 8:30. I fixed the circuit breaker, got the power back on, and left. That was that.
They didn't question like his family, like to see if he came home
Well, I'm
late
sure he-
that night
oh.
after murdering a man.
Well, he was at the hotel working. So.
That's true.
Huh.
The
I
other
don't know.
lead from the power outage led to the room next door, 349. In there, Detective Apple found out were some electricians. There was a large group of electricians
Oh.
staying at the hotel.
How handy.
Because I know, oddly enough, but they're like, I don't know, industrial electricians. There's a big job they were doing in Beaumont. They were from Wisconsin.
Oh.
One of the group of them was from Wisconsin, and they're doing a big job. They'd be there for months.
Famous traveling electrician.
Famous traveling electricians from Wisconsin.
A
Several,
long way to go.
yeah.
Well, a firm. They hired the firm, and they're in the firm.
The firm. Say the word firm. Say the word firm more.
I don't know.
Several of these electricians congregated in one of their other's rooms at night, often to kind of wind down.
The party room.
To have sex. I don't know. The electrician's sex.
No,
They probably
they're
caused the
from
power outage.
Wisconsin. They're drinking some PBR and watching the big game.
Would people from Wisconsin have sex?
No,
What?
I don't believe that's true. So he's thinking, did the power go out, and that got somebody pissed off? They're
That's what
getting
I thought.
drunk. They're like right in the middle of the big game there, and it goes out.
You
and
know.
they go, and they hear him telling the maintenance guy, "It's my bad. I caused this." And they confront him, and a fight ensues.
They had to see the end of the Packers.
Yeah, this is September 15th. I don't think the Packers. I think it's probably a Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember.
Oh my God. Anyway, keep going.
Detective Apple questioned them, and they admit nothing. They had no interaction at all with Greg. They kind of barely knew there was a guy next door at all. He was just that quiet guy in the next room. And in fact, 9 days after Greg died, Apple and another detective decided to question electricians again, and they brought along a hidden video camera. And the guys seemed completely normal, totally cooperative. One of them was named Lance Miller and Tim Steinmetz were two of the electricians. They were the ones actually registered in room 348 and room 349, and was staying there next to Greg. They, as a matter of fact, had been in the hall when the gurney had come out later that day, of the 16th, with Greg's body.
Yikes.
And they thought, just gosh, what a shame. They asked Apple what happened. That poor guy next door who died in the room. And the answer was odd. Apple said it was like something huge and heavy had fallen on him and crushed him.
Wait, he knew that already?
Yeah, the coroner had already had his report. This is 9 days later.
This is the 9 days later. I thought
he
you were
goes back
talking
though
about
to re-talk to them. Mueller was like, "That's weird. There's nothing in the room heavy enough to do that.
Yeah.
That seems very odd." He was just as baffled as Apple was.
Yeah.
And he and Steinmetz said they had heard Greg coughing when they returned from the hotel bar late that night, but they never heard any kind of a crashing sound or anything like that whatsoever. 3 more electricians from the crew, named Scott Hamilton, Trent Pisano, and Tom Elkins, were staying at a room just down the hall. They too had heard or seen nothing unusual or strange at all. In fact, Pisano said, wait, I was actually partying with Tim and Lance in room 349 for much of that night, and I can confirm we didn't hear anything weird.
Yeah. And you think if they could hear him coughing, they would hear an assault.
You would think so. That was later, though.
They
Something.
weren't that part.
They were gone for quite a while after that. So when Pisano left, they were gone. They went down to the bar. The two of Steinmetz and Mueller went down to the bar and didn't come up till like midnight, and that's when they heard Greg coughing, and they went to bed.
Okay.
But I mean, he's a cigarette smoker, so that again is not out of the ordinary
That's
at
true.
all.
Well, so he was still alive after they
Yes.
got back when they heard the coughing. So
That's true.
Yep.
Look at
they
you
were
go.
there when
Yes.
he died.
Yes. So all of the electricians gave Apple their cell phone numbers and contact info and said they'd be happy to help anytime they could. Call us anytime. And they'll be there for another couple of months on this job. And that's basically where the case kind of semi-died, at least for a while. Weeks, then months, and Apple continued to come up with nothing. He again tried the Susie angle. He went back to that. Again, has she hired somebody? He checked the brother again. He can find nothing.
Yeah.
No evidence whatsoever. No business issues or problems with the company. He was doing fine. So there's nothing. In November 2010, just a couple months after, the family, trying to generate some interest in the quickly chilling case, offered a $50,000 reward to anybody with information, and nothing came from that. Michael, his brother, even hired a private detective from Houston, who's a former FBI agent, and nothing ever came of that. Detective Apple said he came in one day, went through the files, I never saw him again. So
Thorough.
either he didn't try very hard,
Yeah.
but regardless, the case had gone very
Yeah.
cold by this time. So we're going to have a new detective, aren't we?
Yeah.
Ken Brennan.
Cam Brandon.
He was famous. At least he was famous in certain circles.
Yeah.
I never heard of this.
Not in my
Ken.
circle.
Not in your circle, not most people's circles, but if you needed a private detective who had a reputation of never failing and you could afford his sizable retainer, then you probably got Ken Brennan's name from a friend of a friend, but if you tracked him down, he was considered the best in the business.
Okay.
Susie Fleniken had done just that. She actually had a friend who saw him on, he was profiled on like a 2020 or something like that, a TV show for one of his cases he had cracked.
Well, then I should know him.
That's true. And months had gone by, and she said, remember I told you about that detective, Ken Brennan? You should call him now. Nothing's happening. This case is cold. This is now in 2011, I believe.
Who said that? Susie?
The friend.
Oh,
The friend of
okay.
Susie's.
Oh, okay.
She got the number for Susie. Susie got the number, and she was desperate for justice. She wouldn't let this rest. So she called Brennan when she got that number, and to her surprise, he answered his own phone, not a receptionist.
Oh, wow.
In fact, he was on a golf course in Florida where he lived. He's like, "Hello, this is Ken Brennan." She was thrown because she expected, wait, shouldn't you have a secretary answers your phone? You're a famous private detective. So she was really nervous when she's talking to him, but she just rattled off the case. She rattled off all the fakes and the beats of the case and what had happened and how it had gone cold. And again, to her surprise, Brennan said, "Okay, you know what? Send me some files." I guess he listed some files he wanted her to send him, and I'll take a look. When Susie mentioned that it might take a day or so because she was feeling sick lately, Brennan's response was, "Well, you need to fucking take care of yourself."
But also, what files does she have? Wouldn't the
She
it
got
would
the
be
pol-
police
she-
stuff?
You can request that stuff.
But
Some
it's an
of it.
open investigation.
Whatever. She has files.
Maybe
I
like
don't know,
a
Karen.
police report or something like that.
Files.
Stuff. Okay.
Files.
I don't know.
Mom.
Obviously, it was either file 1246/8. I don't know. Files here. Files. Because that was kind of Ken Brennan in a nutshell. He was this gruff ex-New York cop on Long Island. He had been an ex-DEA special agent.
Oh, God.
But now he's this PI in Florida who only took cases that grabbed his attention. He had way more demand than he had supply of time.
Well, he had time to golf, so.
He had some time to golf, but he also had time to give a shit about people, Carrie. He was worried about her health. He said, you fucking take care of yourself, okay? He was nearly 60 years old, and he's built like one of those old dude who still hits the gym and maybe puts a little something in his protein drink, but he was really good.
Because that's how they take steroids in their protein drinks.
Sure, why not? I don't know. I don't take steroids.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's
What did you think?
That was my reference there.
I don't really
Cocaine.
know.
He's a pretty buff dude. He's kind of old.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I'm joking. He probably doesn't. He just, hey, no
I know,
pain, no
right?
gain.
He's still
Please
alive.
don't sue us, Kim Brennan.
Allegedly.
I was kidding. And in the Fleniken case, he did see some possibilities, right? He thought there's some angles here. I can solve this. There are kind of places to attack it and angles to explore. He thought there's Greg's work. There's the wife. There's his whole life back in Louisiana. His extended family, maybe. There's those electricians, that sex offending maintenance man, and who knows, anyone else that had maybe come in and had just gone unnoticed.
Well, the bottom of my list would be his wife, since she contacted him.
It's
That
true,
part.
but he had a
gotta-
lot of experience. That probably happened before.
Leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
He was super thorough. In fact, he told Susie right up front, he goes, I'm going to run down everything. And this includes if Greg really was the always faithful,
Right.
quiet man alone in
Yeah.
the hotel room or not. So I'm going to find out
Yeah.
that kind of
Obviously.
thing
Yeah.
if it occurred, if he was just a little bit of a on the down low philanderer.
Yeah.
A freak.
Susie said, I don't care. I can stand anything you find, and I'll tell you everything. So Brendan started by interviewing her. He talked to Susie for length, and he interrogated her, pretty thoroughly, and nothing seemed to be jumping out. So he finally ended the interview with her, the initial interview anyway, just by asking her, is there anything you,
Yeah.
in this case, you thought was weird or just made you go kind of, huh? I don't get that.
That's a good ask.
It is. And guess what? She did have something like that, as a matter of fact.
Ooh.
Susie told Brennan the room had been too warm the morning
That's-
that he was found.
Yes.
You notice that?
Yeah,
I did notice that,
that
and I know
too.
why that could be potentially.
Why?
Speed up decomposition, less evidence, but that's
not-
just one possibility.
Well, that's not the way he went. Remember, Greg's coworkers had said, gosh, the room was stifling hot. It's very hot
Yeah.
when we got
Do
in
you
want
want
to
know what I would think that
Yeah.
would mean?
What do you think?
That would lead me to suspect the maintenance man because that would mean it happened before. So say the electricity goes out and so the thermostat went out. And so it defaulted back to a normal setting or something, not the way
He
Greg
likes
liked
it.
the room. So Greg didn't have a chance to set it back down to
Yeah.
65 or whatever he puts it
Yep.
at before
I like that.
he got hurt.
I like that. I
See,
like
you
that.
smart.
Yeah.
You could play video games.
I don't know that those two things go together, but deductive reasoning in video games.
Absolutely.
But for now, though, Brennan just kind of put that away. She told him, look, I know for a fact he infamously
Right.
turned the AC down way, way, way low. So it was
Yeah.
strange to me that they told me the room was so warm.
Yeah.
Meaning it likely somebody turned it up.
See, I would, if a killer did it on purpose, I would expect them to turn the thermostat down. They would want the room to stay colder,
Why?
so it
Yeah.
would take longer for the body to start smelling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that
I would
makes
think so
sense.
too. I would think so too.
Yeah.
If they thought of that, that's a hard thing. It's
Sure.
sort of a spur
yeah.
of the moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think about those things
Yeah.
when you murder. I'm sure you can. First,
I know,
knowledge. No, I'm kidding. Not that we would know. Brennan always tried to get along with law enforcement, local law enforcement, when he started a case.
Well,
So
I
when-
would hope so.
Yeah, but not
On
like I said,
TV,
not everybody
yeah.
does. He did here, so he called Detective Apple before he ever set foot in Beaumont and said, I want to work with you on this case. I want to be like almost part of the team. I will be that second pair of eyes. If I find anything, I'll tell you. I will not fuck up your case. And Apple said, sounds good. And
Yeah.
Apple liked him immediately. So the case was on again.
That's
now
good.
with Ken Brennan on the
A
team.
little team. Oh my goodness. They need to make a movie out of this.
They-
They'd be like,
they honestly
actually,
should.
No,
No, this
fuck
would be a-
buddy cop movies. I'm tired
It's
of
not
them.
it's not a buddy cop movie,
Half
but they
buddy
should
cop.
make a movie with
One's a
this.
cop.
Okay. I mean, it's not the main focus. You don't have to make that the main focus, the relationship of the two, law enforcement types. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
if it's
pitch
about
it.
the investigations, it's
It would be.
inevitable.
It would be.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have it just. I mean, that doesn't have to be the central focus.
Yeah.
Fuck
You
the
tell it
police
through
is the
Susie's
central
eyes,
focus.
even though she wasn't even there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I like that.
So Apple and Brennan sat down in the Beaumont police station and they reviewed all of the evidence together, right? And then Brennan, to Apple's tremendous annoyance, said, "You know what? I know what happened. I know when it happened, and I think I know who did it." It was kind of like this monk moment, but in real
Yeah.
life. And he goes, "I just have one more question. I'm going to call Susie right now back in Louisiana. Let me ask you this question." So he did.
Yes.
Brennan called Susie back in Louisiana and said, "Was Greg right-handed or left-handed?" She said, "Right-handed." She said, and he asked, "Okay, when he smoked, did he always keep the cigarette in his right hand?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Always, every time?" She said, "Absolutely, always, every time he smoked with his right hand." She was dead sure of it. So because Brennan had noticed that Greg had been on the floor in room 348 with that burnt out cigarette still pinched between the fingers of his left hand.
Boom.
So he thought, had the attacker done that?
Yeah.
Put the
staged
cigarette back into his left hand.
without knowing.
And he thought, that seems weird. But he also thought, there's no way Greg would have held the cigarette through the beating that severe. So, and again, he thought, I just feel like it's ludicrous that they're going to put, it'd be like one of those cheap mystery novel clues. It's like, and the
Right.
killer put it in his left
Literally
hand.
Poirot.
And Greg was right-handed. Case solved. It just seemed
Yeah.
unreal to him. He didn't think it could happen, right?
But then he said, what did that indicate to him?
It said that Greg had lit a cigarette and then not long after that had died
Yes.
because the cigarette hadn't even burned out yet.
Uh-huh.
And he thought he also knew how the cigarette got from Greg's right hand to his left hand. Let's leave that for a moment.
Okay.
Put a pin in that.
in
I have
it.
an idea.
We're putting a pin in
Okay.
You and Ken both, Mom.
it. Do you want to tell us your idea?
Well, I'm just thinking maybe something was going on with the thermostat, so he needed his right hand
Because you can't turn
to
this
do
over
the
your
dial.
left hand?
Maybe not.
No, okay.
You're
he-
that
if he-
uncoordinated.
His left-handed
If he
coordinator.
couldn't smoke with his left hand,
Well,
then
I'm assuming he smoked with his right hand because he lit with his left hand, or just
Yeah.
that's his comfortable hand.
his
You know,
comfortable
have
See,
it.
I
Have
think
it, baby.
usually, I
Maybe.
think all my extensive smoking experience,
uh-huh.
smokers would hold it in their left hand and light it with their right, because you're more coordinated to flick the lighter.
Yeah, that's true.
With your
I-
right hand,
I don't know.
and
Well-
then grew up with smokers my entire life.
Yeah, did they do that?
Yes.
So did I.
And they smoked with their left hand because they were doing things with their right. If you had to write, if you were
Interesting.
sitting at your desk, you're smoking with your left.
But I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure my
His
mom.
wife, who
I
knew him very well, said
Sure.
that he
I-
smoked
yeah,
with his
no,
right.
I-
So
yeah,
I'm inclined
yeah.
to believe her rather
Yeah.
than you,
But
Mama.
anyway, he was doing something with and he needed his right
Yeah.
hand. Okay.
Yeah.
That's possible.
a potentiality.
Yeah. Now, let's go back to that thing about knowing when Greg had died. That part, Brennan thought, was easy.
A little bit.
Well, he knew from Susie that Greg, again, always liked to crank the AC up way, way, way high. And the room he was found in September, a room in September in Texas would be hot.
Yeah.
Why? Well, he thought because the AC must have gone off when the fuse was blown and the power went out and it reset to off, not to a lower
Oh.
temperature or default temperature.
True.
But it
Yeah.
just entirely
Ambient.
turned it off.
Yeah.
Oh, no, though.
And so the maintenance man comes up, he fixes it, and Brandon was sure the maintenance man did not kill Greg. He thought the maintenance man left, and the record showed that the maintenance man left at about 8:30, and the power was back on.
Yeah. And we
And-
know he was alive around midnight.
and Greg
so-
was-
Yeah.
Greg was left alone in his room. So Brennan, well, do we? Because this is about 8:30. And Brennan reasoned that Greg must have died right after that, soon after that, because he almost certainly got back into his bed and snuggled up under the blanket like he did every single night.
He would have turned the air back on.
Not thinking to turn the AC back on.
Wait, what?
No.
Yes.
Why?
Because the air was because the room
Oh, I see
was
what you
stifling
mean.
hot in the morning. He
Yeah.
forgot to turn the air conditioning back on, got back onto his bed. Brennan then reasoned it wouldn't. It's September, even in the evening.
He would have known.
He would have
Yeah.
figured out the AC wasn't on within minutes.
I agree.
So-
okay. I know where this is going.
By Brennan's reasoning, he died very soon after.
I agree.
8:30.
Yeah, I agree too.
There's no way he would have noticed the AC wasn't on.
Yeah.
Yes.
He would have noticed that without being covered up, let alone covered
Yes.
up.
Retweet.
So whatever happened to him happened within a few minutes because Texas, as Brennan said, quote, in September, it's hot as fucking Beaumont, Texas.
He's not wrong. It's
Yeah.
hot as fuck over
not.
here, so I can only imagine how
Yeah.
it isn't over there in
Yeah,
Texas.
and those tend to be, you never have the window open. Hotel rooms do get very, very stifling hot without the AC on.
God,
So.
Yeah.
stuffy.
So Greg lights a cigarette after getting back in bed with the AC off, unknown to him, and he's going to be dead soon. And not because Gwyneth Paltrow has a prominent role in Iron Man 2, although that could possibly cause that.
My God.
Brennan had a scenario that would put the cigarette in Brennan's wrong hand as well.
How?
He said, when whatever happened to Greg happened, right, he rose from the bed and he lurched toward the door. Naturally, he said he'd reach for the door with his right hand. Mm-hmm. So he put the cigarette into his left hand and reached for the door and collapsed and died.
Means nothing to me. I mean, you can't turn a doorknob with your left hand.
Well,
Of
but
course you
also
a
can.
minute
wouldn't
ago,
you-
you thought you couldn't change the thermostat with your left hand.
Well,
but yeah.
I mean,
That's true, Mom.
He's trying to look for a way
Sure.
to get that from his
I
right, the
guess.
cigarette from his right hand to his left hand, and that way
Yeah.
actually does make sense.
The more
Well,
logical,
yeah.
well, why wouldn't he just drop the cigarette entirely?
Yeah.
If something extreme
That's true.
happened to you, honestly, I
Yeah.
just dropped that shit and ran.
And also,
think.
That makes
but-
me think
That's
somebody
also a
put it in his
possibility.
left hand afterwards.
But also, you
I
don't
know.
lunge for the phone. You lunge for the door.
Well,
Something happened to
Yeah.
you. We don't know what.
Yes, and depending on how traumatic, you don't always think
Discombobulate.
the
You
don't-
first
exactly.
right thing
Exactly.
to do.
You just want to
So
get
who
out
knows?
and
Panic.
call for help.
Yeah, especially if there's somebody in the room attacking you, you're trying to get out of
That's
the room.
true.
that's a good point, Mama.
So,
Jack?
so Brennan had this guy. His scenario had this guy peacefully lying in his room smoking. When something awful happens, he gets out of bed, but he's dead before he can reach the doorknob. And again, he thinks, how does this jibe with being beaten horrifically?
Yeah.
So on top of the who done it, he had a how done it.
That's the weirdest part about the cigarette.
It's very weird.
is
Yeah.
that
Yeah, it is.
You can sustain that bad of an injury
And still have it, yeah.
and still
Right,
even have
not
the cigarette in
drop
your
it.
hand. Yeah.
So Brennan thought, I need to go talk to Tommy Brown, the coroner.
Yeah.
He's the world's fastest coroner. I need to have a discussion with him.
Yeah.
He mulled over the injuries with Brown in an interview, and particularly that badly bruised scrotum and groin, which again were the only real external injuries. Dr. Brown, the coroner, thought, yeah, a violent kick with a steel-toed boot could have caused that kind of damage. So Brennan goes, you know what? Those industrial electricians, I bet you they wear steel-toed boots.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in Beaumont, Texas, probably
I
have
know.
steel-toed boots. You said it's an oil
But
gas
they all
kind of town.
But they weren't located next door to the murder
That's
victim.
true. That's
These guys
true.
were.
Yeah.
So he thought maybe the how of the death could lead to the who.
Yes.
Steel-toe boots. These guys have steel-toe boots. They're right next door. We're drunk, a bunch of drunken, maybe rowdy electricians. His best bet, he thought maybe. So he left that angle to Apple and some colleagues who were going to re-interview the electricians. Meanwhile, Brennan thought, I'm going to go back to the video. So it goes back to the surveillance video from
Wait,
the
can I
hotel.
ask a question? How long has it been? Are they all
been
still in
months.
town?
No.
So, okay. So
not.
they're back
back.
in
They've
Wisconsin.
gone back home, yeah.
Okay.
It's been many months. He goes back to the video and he sees very little there. Again, doesn't see anybody suspicious coming in, doesn't see Greg leaving. He did see Greg arrive for work, and that's the last you see of Greg on the video that night. He also saw some of those electricians go out, exit, and come back in a couple of times for short periods, as if they're going to the car to get something, maybe in the
Yeah.
parking lot. Mm-hmm.
Drunk.
Could that mean something? He didn't know. Yeah, I mean, it could have been for booze. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, they're drunk people. They could just be running around having fun.
That's true. Going back to
Doing-
the car for some booze.
Doing shit with my friends.
So it's late May now. The electricians had gone back to Wisconsin months ago, as a matter of fact. Brandon thinks, okay, if something's going on by that angle, it's human nature that gossip's going to get around. Someone's going to talk. If something happened that night, some people back in Wisconsin involved in that electrician crowd are going to know. Somebody should have said something.
Yeah.
So
Because what, we're talking 3, 4, 5 electricians were in that room?
More, 3 in that room for part of the night. 2 spent the night there, but there was a large crew. Again, 3 more were in a room. Were in rooms down the hall. There was a large group of electricians in that hotel at the time.
Partying.
Yeah, partying. Hey, working hard.
Oh, well, no, I'm not saying anything about it. I mean, they deserve to party after working with them steel-toed boots all day.
True. That's true.
In the hot Beaumont, Texas sun.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
I don't want to.
Brennan and Apple talked to all of the electricians again, including those who really had nothing to do with the Mueller crew that night, right?
Yeah.
One of them, he was the foreman of the crew, as a matter of fact, and his name was Aaron Bork. He had heard something about what happened down there, so he tells Brennan and Apple. He says, "Yeah, I heard something about a gun going off at a boarding house."
Wait,
and
what?
Detective Apple says, "No, you must be thinking of a different case. Then this was a guy who was beaten to death at a hotel called the Elegante." And Borg said, "No, I've never heard anything about that."
Oh. I said, but wait, do we need to know anything about this boarding house?
Yeah. Well, so they finished the interview with Bork, and as they're driving away, Brennan turns to Apple and says, "I want to go back to Beaumont, and I want to recheck room 348 at the Elegante."
348, that's where he was staying.
Right.
That's where Greg was
Right.
staying, yeah.
For,
And Apple
like-
says, "What for?"
Yeah.
And he says, "To find the bullet."
Yeah.
Apple says, "The bullet?" Apple was floored. He says, "What are you talking about?" But they did.
Okay.
Bear with me.
Okay, we'll go for it. I
The
guess
Apple?
Brennan thinks things.
Apple and
we're
Beaumont.
not running from the room screaming.
You look confused. Apple
Well,
and
yes,
Beaumont.
you did that on purpose.
Yes,
you
I
want
did.
that emotion, and then you're going to fix it.
Yes, I am. Apple and Brennan go back to Beaumont, and they get access again to room 348, and they search every crevice of the room. They get down on their hands and knees. They shine flashlights into all the dark places.
Me, when I'm looking for hidden cameras.
And they find nothing.
Ooh.
Yeah, because, I mean, you got to
Yeah.
think the bullet would have gone into him probably on the bed. So, did they look in the mattress?
Well,
I-
if it's the same
They have a
mattress.
hole in it. So if it's the same mattress, yeah, I don't know. So they're about to give up.
Yeah.
Brennan, on the way out, spots a dent in the wall near the lockout door that led to room 349. It's one of those hotels, they have a joining door, but it's locked down on both sides, so you can't access the other room. You can, if it's a party room, whatever.
Yeah.
He says, "You know what? That's probably where if you open that adjoining door, it hits the wall.
Yeah.
And someone opened it really violently at one point and caused a dent. So that's just some typical, bad
Damage.
hotel maintenance, right?"
Yeah.
Only he gets the key and he opens that adjoining door and it misses.
Ooh.
It's several inches too far to the right.
Who did
It
it?
is not. The door did not cause that damage in the wall. That's between room 349 and 348. 349 where the electricians were staying. He says, So they go into room 349 where the electricians had been staying on that night. And there it was. They found a little hole on the 349 side. Brennan checks the height of that on the wall with his hip, walks back over to 348, checks the height of the dent, the repaired dent on that side, and it matches perfectly. So Apple and Brennan go back to room 349, and they poke at the hole,
Yeah.
and they find it has been patched, but pretty badly. So by some weird substance that was kind of a light pink color and kind of flaky. So they scrape it out and scrape some off, and they find that it was dried toothpaste.
Oh, I was going to say donut frosting.
Pretty much. I don't know if they smelled it and said, that's minty.
Toothpaste.
Yeah.
This
and it
was-
lasted that long.
It was not a professional repairer, but it
Yeah.
was...
Not
it
the
was-
maintenance man.
No, it was not the maintenance man. It was the spur-of-the-moment repair, at least on that side. And it was to cover up a bullet hole
But then
that had entered room 349
Confusing.
and exited the wall on room 348, which is a slightly larger hole that had been repaired by the maintenance, not knowing what it was. So the
Yeah.
maintenance
Okay.
had repaired 348's larger hole. The little hole had been repaired by somebody using toothpaste, and no one had noticed it until
And
now.
they didn't think, somebody died in this room. Maybe we should tell somebody.
You mean when they repaired the hole?
Yeah.
It probably
Girl.
was days later, and they didn't. Remember, he had been beaten to death Why should a hole
I don't know.
be? It didn't
Or,
register
well,
with whoever found it.
Could that be the person who made that hole in the first place and we're trying to cover it up? But then
On-
they would
on
have
the
covered the
349.
other ones up too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That's confusing.
They had access to 349. They wouldn't have had access to 348.
That's true.
So Brandon and Apple, they cleared out the hole between the two rooms, and they used a laser pointer. And the trajectory of the laser pointer was essentially perfect. It went straight across room 348 at the height just above the bed where Greg Fleniken had been lying and snacking and smoking and watching Iron Man 2 on September 15th.
But then we go back to the no external injuries. You'd see a bullet hole.
Quote unquote.
But there was a little hole in his
Oh, the graze.
scrotum.
There we go. Quote unquote from Brennan. This motherfucker was shot. He said to Apple.
This man, he's writing the script himself. He wants a movie.
It's not always true that figuring out the how of a crime gives you the who, but in this case,
Yeah.
the conclusion was inescapable.
I guess.
Well, they don't know exactly who,
Not
but
exactly.
it's whittled
Again.
down.
But they knew a bullet had passed from room 349
But also,
out the wall in 348 and then crashed into the scrotum of Greg Fleniken lying
Oh.
peacefully in bed, ripping through his innards and lodging somewhere that was missed by the coroner.
Because I was going to say, so if it exited, there would have been an exit wound.
Exactly. An exit, a bullet, yeah, but there wasn't.
So it's
it
still
had to
in
stay in
his
his body.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Like in his chest. If-
Exactly. Greg lived long
They
enough.
don't do x-rays?
Probably.
Because
I don't know.
Yeah, it would be
You'd
metal,
find 'em.
I
right?
think they would. They had lots of autopsy photographs. I don't know if they did X-rays.
Yeah,
though,
maybe they don't do
because they
x-rays.
dug. They remember they ripped you open.
Yeah.
so they can see broken bones.
Yeah,
they
found
literally don't
those
have
two
to do
broken
that.
ribs.
Yeah, and if they don't suspect a gunshot, then why would they do an x-ray to try to find a bullet?
But if
True.
it's a mysterious death,
Well, to the
I don't
coroner,
know.
That's true.
who had
He-
45 minutes.
yeah, I
this
was
was not a
gonna say,
mysterious
yeah.
death.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You got to be more thorough.
No, I'm not
Mr.
saying this is not a horrifically lazy job by the coroner.
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
He was in a hurry.
Yeah,
so.
he was. Greg had lived long enough to probably cry out in excruciating pain. He then struggled up to his feet and lumbered to the door, going to cry out for help, but then collapsed and he died in short-lived agony from a
Yeah.
bullet that had gone through. So he's just laying there, legs open, the bullet. I mean, he's just completely not expecting anything in the world, and suddenly a bullet rips through your groin and into your body, and you're dead within minutes.
And he probably had no idea what happened, right?
I had no idea, without any question.
Yikes.
So the Who was kind of easy. The Who was one or more of the three electricians that were in room 349. But which one and how could they prove it was still a question. The first thing they had to do, though, was go back to Coroner Tommy Brown and kind of get him on their side. And they knew that would not be easy.
Yeah.
Coroners
'cause he
almost
missed it.
never admit mistakes, as
But
we
that's
know.
a weird thing to miss. So
It's a very weird thing
I
to
mean,
mix.
I'd be real nice and cajole him.
I don't know if that's Brennan's style. He laid out the scenario and for Brown, and Brown was just immediately disbelieving. He says, "No way. How could I have missed a bullet? How could I have missed a bullet wound? How could I have mistaken the bodily damage from a bullet for a beating?" He just didn't believe. He's no way this could have happened.
If there wasn't there was a tear on the scrotum though.
There was. We'll get to that in a second.
But I think a bullet would cause more than just a tear.
well,
It depends on what kind of bullet, right?
But if
How-
it went through already a layer of wall, that
Yeah.
might have
Oh, that's
dampened.
true.
but it still had enough
Force to
energy,
go- yeah.
force to go through him horrifically and cause
Towards his
horrible,
heart.
horrible injuries. Yeah, all the way to his heart. And the body, by the way, had been cremated at a mortuary.
Yeah,
so
I was gonna
and,
say.
Shit.
and so Brown goes, if there was a bullet there, that fire is more than hot enough to burn, to melt
Melt it
the
away.
bullet. So that's gone.
It is?
So yeah,
Oh yeah, it's thousands of degrees for
Yeah.
hours.
yeah. I mean, it's harder to melt bone than a bullet. So Brandon walked through the autopsy photos with Brown, and he pointed out to Brown the story told by Greg's body. He said it started with a cut in Greg's scrotum, where Brown saw just sort of a laceration or something that was caused by a kick. Brennan saw a bullet entry wound. He said, "Look, the tissue of the scrotum kind of soft. It just wrapped back around it, enveloped around it, and so it
Yeah.
disguised what it really was.
Yeah.
It had literally gone through his scrotum. If it had gone through like his taint, to use the technical term, I don't know if the real actual term is.
Perineum.
That's it, perineum.
Your gooch. Because it taint your ass, it taint your balls.
Then that would have been more noticeable. That would have been a more noticeable entry wound.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
didn't. It went through his scrotum and it kind of like just disguised
Yeah.
it.
Soft.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he used the autopsy photos, to trace the damage up his body, the intestines, the liver, the stomach. And then he said, let's look at the heart. And Brennan saw a bullet hole where Brown saw a rupture. And he even said, he goes, well, a beating, a lot of force can cause the heart to rupture. I don't think that's a bullet hole. So he takes the picture and he points to the spot. And he says, Doc, that's a fucking bullet hole.
Yeah.
And he holds it up for Brown to look at again, and Brown inspects it, and then all of a sudden Brown just sort of sighs. And he finally says, yep, that's a bullet hole. The media is going to kill me on this.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah. What? Now you're throwing him a bone?
No.
We just
Yeah.
established that he did a rushed, shoddy
And
job.
we've seen enough deadline 40 out, et cetera, to know that coroners are they could be just clearly proved wrong, and they'll still
Yeah.
stick to their guns.
Oh no, yeah.
Ego baby.
So
It is.
good for
Ego
him
and
for
liability, I think,
yeah,
too.
good
Yeah,
for him
embarrassment.
for admitting it.
Exactly.
but-
That is true. So it was back to Wisconsin for Brennan and Apple. They tracked down Tim Steinmetz first. I think they had an idea of who was the who here. So they get this Tim Steinmetz and they talk to him. He was, again, remember, he was one of the 3 men in room 349 that night in September of 2010. And they find out later that he had actually he called Lance Mueller when he found out that the cops were coming to talk to him, or wanted to talk to him. And they sort of got the story straight. So Steinmetz goes to the local police station back in Wisconsin, and he gives the visiting detectives, Detective Apple and also Ken Brennan, yeah. He gives the whole account. It agrees in all the details what he had said earlier. And it's a very matter of fact. And they're like, okay. And they're just like taking things down, writing everything down so he can sign a statement, and just kind of very almost friendly. And then when he was done with his statement, they thanked him for his time, and they rose as if they're going to leave. And he's like, well, that's it? You guys, flew all the way up from Texas to do this? And he was very startled. And they said, yep, that's all we can do until you sign that statement you just made. When you do that, when you sign that statement, you will have signed a false report. You're going to obstruct justice and be guilty of obstructing justice, because we know for a fact that Lance Mueller killed Greg Fleniken and that you helped cover it up. Stop committing crimes for Lance Mueller. You've already done so. He's not worth it. You're just going to make this worse. So tell us the truth. Steinmetz continued to kind of bluff for a while, bluff his way out of it. And they said, loyalty to your friend is one thing, but this is murder or something really close to that. Don't screw yourself. You're going to screw your family. Tell us what happened. And then just sort of like a balloon, Steinmetz deflated. He sat back down, and he then proceeded to tell Apple and Brennan everything.
Did they
Yeah.
just get him?
Every detail.
Did you play him like a fiddle?
They did. I think he desperately wanted to come clean. He's
How
he's
did
not
they
a
know
bad
which
person.
one?
Was
think
it a
they
bluff?
just-
I think they might
It
have
was
gotten
probably
lucky.
a guess, but I think they could read these guys' personalities well enough.
Yeah.
Lance Mueller was
Oh.
he was the asshole. He was the
Okay.
alpha male douchebag of the group by far.
Impetuous.
Are they? You'd think they could check gun records, couldn't they? to
That's what I
see
thought, to see who has a gun registered in their name.
They could see if either one of the two had a registered.
Yeah, they may have. I didn't read that,
Yeah.
but they may have. Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
Plenty of unregistered
I mean, they
firearms,
may
though.
both have had a gun
Yeah.
registered to them.
That's true.
So Steinmetz told him everything. When that was done, they then went to talk to Trent Pisano, the third guy in the room, and he corroborated everything. He said
Wow.
this. He told him the same story that Steinmetz told. He just said, "Yep, I'm going to tell you."
Wow.
So here's what happened.
I think
Says Monk. The three men
Columbo.
were drinking beer in room 349, and they wanted something a little harder. So Pisano went to either, I'm not completely sure, it's either his car or Mueller's car to get a bottle of whiskey. I think it was Mueller's car, but some of the reports I read kind of mixed that up. And he's leaving to go get the whiskey, and as he's leaving, Mueller goes, "Hey, you know what? Also, while you're there, why don't you bring that new gun I have, that 9mm Ruger? Let's check it out, man. Let's just look at that gun. 'Cause,
let's play with a
that's what guys
gun
do.
in a
and drink
hotel.
whiskey
And
at the
drink
same
whiskey
time.
after you're already drunk." So Pisano obeyed. He got back with the booze, and he gave Mueller the gun. And then the intoxicated electrician, Lance Mueller, started playing with the gun, as you will, kind of screwing around. He actually then pointed it right at Tim Steinmetz's head.
Oh, my God.
Steinmetz just hit the floor, shouting a curse
Yeah.
at Mueller to knock that shit off. Mueller just sort of chuckled, and he started to wave it toward Pisano when suddenly there was a deafening roar At first, Pisano thought that he had been shot. And then he kind of turned and he saw that little hole in the wall that led to room 348. And Mueller sobered up fast. He knew, he's shit. I just discharged a firearm in a hotel. The guy next door is going to report us. He's going to call security. I'm in trouble. I could get fired. So he quickly wrapped the gun up in an item of clothing and he rushed to his car and he hid it. By the time he got back to the hotel room that he shared with Steinmetz, Pisano had bailed. He would have nothing to do with this bullshit.
Smart.
Yeah. So not wanting to be there when that knock on the door came from security, Mueller and Steinmetz went down to the bar. I'm guessing probably to try to, no, we've been down here. What are you talking about? We've been down here for a couple hours. Been just drinking beers quietly in the corner over here. They wanted to have a quasi-alibi for, no, it wasn't us who shot the door through our room into the next room.
I'm not the smartest electrician.
No, but it's better than just waiting there and,
They
waiting. The only incongruous part of Steinmetz's story was the claim that you remember of he said that he and Mueller returned to the room around midnight and heard a cough from next door. That didn't make any sense from the whole scenario that Brandon had.
I just assume they're lying.
It's a weird lie. It actually makes them look worse.
Yeah.
Because if that's true, he was alive hours after they know they shot him accidentally.
Actually, if
later
I was
on,
the cop, I would think, well, they're just mistaken about what direction the cough came from.
That or the time. Brennan thought they just mixed up the time. That he probably was coughing throughout the night when they were in the room because he was a smoker. He just thought they messed up the time. He thought they just made an innocent mistake. He didn't think they were lying about it because, again, it's not a smart lie from their perspective.
No,
but it made it look weird. It made it look like he was if that was true, he would have been alive for hours after he was shot. And the coroner and medical science says that's hugely unlikely.
Yeah.
He died probably in 5 or 10 minutes at the most. That's kind of where it sat. Steinmetz served one last useful task. He wore wire to speak to Mueller and get him to talk about the incident openly and actually talk about it. And he did talk to him, and Mueller did. He says, remember when that bullet went off and da-da-da-da-da, and Mueller is just going, yep. So Mueller completely gave himself up in this recorded conversation with Steinmetz. And then at the end of that conversation, Steinmetz told Mueller, I just spoke to the police. I told them everything, the whole truth, all of it. And Mueller was floored. He says, are you shitting me, Tim? You told him everything? You told him the entire truth? And Steinmetz said he did. He hung up. Mueller apparently had convinced himself that Greg's death was by a beating and was coincidental to the gunshot. He heard, because they followed the case naturally, and he had heard this guy was beaten to death. That's weird, but it has nothing to do with my accidentally shooting that gun off. He'd actually convinced himself. Or at least, I don't know, maybe he did.
Denial is powerful.
Very powerful. Because that night, after he's talked with Steinmetz, he got drunk, and he called Brennan. Remember, he had Brennan's cell phone from the investigation earlier. He called Brennan, and he tried to drunkenly just explain everything. Here's what happened, It was an accident, blah, blah, blah. And Brennan just cut him off and said, I suggest you call your fucking attorney, and hung up.
Yeah.
So later, Detective Apple would remember something in hindsight that he kind of kicked himself for not recognizing at the time. Mueller and Steinmetz, as I mentioned, they were there. They were coming out of their room, or back to the room, I'm not sure, when they were taking Greg out in the gurney. And they're just kind of looking at it, and it's kind of an awkward silence. And Apple had said something just to break the ice. He said, how's it going? And Mueller responded, quote, I was doing better until now. So they had so they thought, okay, nothing happened to us that night.
Right.
We're clear. The gunshot that we let off didn't do any damage.
Yeah.
And then the next day, they see a body being taken out in the room they fired into. He knew what happened. So he knew. He knew what he did.
He could in that moment, he would have assumed, oh my God, it hit the guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then when the cops come to you and say he was beaten to death.
Yes, that is weird.
So I could see how.
But you knew you fired a bullet into the room.
Yeah.
And the cops were like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe he was beaten to death.
Yeah.
They didn't. I don't know if
no,
they
it
said
was like the official coroner says, man, beaten. Yeah.
I could see how you would totally want to. You would want to,
but it doesn't mean you should.
Well,
it's
if the
nonsensical.
cops are telling you that's what happened, then
but you're the one who knows the cops are wrong.
Well.
I mean, right? Mueller was sentenced for his no contest plea to manslaughter on October 29th, 2012. Both Brandon and Susie were there in Beaumont for that. And I guess the judge started summing up, and he said something like about this terrible accident. And Brandon just goes, oh, shit. This guy is going to let this guy off. But then the judge started pointing out all of the stupid and irresponsible things that Mueller had done. And he gave him his 10 years, which was about half the allowable sentence, though, he could have given. So in the end, though, that was probably the best case because the county DA in Beaumont had originally not even been willing to go for manslaughter.
What?
Really?
He said that accidental gun discharges in Texas happen all the time.
Of course.
And that a jury and a judge will be very lenient on these guys if I come with that kind of a case. If
When they
even
kill
convict him at all.
somebody?
It's Texas, baby. It happens in Texas. Guns go off. That's what he said. He literally said, guns go off all the time. I don't think I'm going to win this case. This is not a slam dunk like you think it is. And
go off all the time when
Shooting
it's a
cans.
true accident, not when you have it in a hotel room, you're drunk, you're playing around with it, you point it at your friend.
Wave it around.
I mean, that's reckless disregard.
true, but you got a good lawyer and
That's
you got a Texas
more
jury.
than an accident.
The DA thought, I don't know if I can win this case. So Brandon went and got Susie and brought him back, and they basically begged and threatened the DA to do his job. Brennan basically promised at the end, he said, I will not let this rest if you don't move in the Mueller case. You need to charge with manslaughter. And remember, he'd been on 2020 and stuff like that. I think the DA just got scared and brought the case to trial and won because, again, the facts were incontrovertible, and they got a 10-year sentence. So I don't know if he's still in prison or not. It's been more than 10 years now. Well, that was about 9 years now, so I don't know if he's in prison or not.
It's not long enough.
Yeah, it's not
should be
nearly
longer.
long enough.
Okay, what about the other two?
Susie, I don't know.
That's
about
not the other two.
I don't know. I don't think they got charged with anything serious at all, to be honest. But I don't know that for a fact.
I mean, they didn't fire the gun.
Yeah.
Why?
I'm not saying
I
they
don't
shouldn't
know.
have. They should have. They did
Obstruction of
obstruct
justice.
justice.
They
and things like
lied
that.
Yes,
to the
that's
police.
true.
You know, I don't know.
They-
I don't know. They may have gotten something, but I don't know what it was. I don't think it was jail time. Susie, though, she had one last comment. She was watching Mueller's face when the judge was giving down his sentence and said, you're going to go to jail for 10 years. And she said Mueller looked shocked, like he didn't expect that.
I'm sure he didn't because Texas.
Yeah. And she liked that. He looked shocked, she said later, but not as shocked as my husband was.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that is the story of the killing. I'd actually go saying the murder of Greg Fleniken,
That
who died a
doesn't-
horrific death by some dummies. He still would have died had they immediately knocked on the door and said, hey, you okay in there? We just fired a gun. Had they done the right thing?
Yeah.
But who knows? The coroner said it could have been up to 30 minutes that he lived. So it's not completely impossible, but there was damage to the heart.
Yeah.
So and there was a lot of bleeding. So he probably would have died. And
Yeah.
the coroner said it could have been up to 30 minutes, but it's probably more like 5 or 10
Yeah.
Eek.
before he died.
And it wouldn't,
Still.
I mean, they were drunk. They still would have
Yeah.
been in just as much trouble. So,
But they
Terrible.
would have done the right thing, obviously,
Yeah.
instead of covering it up. And they
Yes.
got away with it. Susie Fleniken never has any idea what happened to her husband.
Yeah.
If Ken Brennan hadn't have solved this
Sure.
one, yeah.
so it's because of Susie that her husband's case got solved.
Susie would not rest.
Or actually, Susie's friend.
Yeah, thanks Susie's friend who
Well,
said hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And his brother too. Like I said, his brother put out a reward and hired a PI, just not as good of a
Yeah.
of a PI. He didn't know. He didn't know any
Yeah.
better. So that is the story.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. That's like I said, it's not a whodunit because we know who did it, but it's an amazing story.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale. Don't play with guns in hotels, is what I
Yeah.
say. I've been saying that for a long time. I'm on record. I'm not going to back down from that.
Come on, Texas.
Anything, you guys?
Do we know how Susie's doing now?
I'm sure she's
She's
doing
fine.
great. I have no idea.
She's been married.
She's
she
younger
has
than he
2
was.
kids.
She's a little young. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure she's doing just fine, but I have no idea.
I hope so.
Me too.
Okay. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you. You're welcome. Glad to do it. All right. That's it for Word World this week.
We did it.
Join us next week.
If you don't already, subscribe to us, rate us, and review us.
Do that.
Give us a good review.
Yep.
Please.
Be helpful. Thank you.
Okie dokes.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.